Gerald Marie, almost single-handedly transforming top models into worldwide superstars. He even married one, Canadian beauty Linda Evangelista.
When you meet a lot of beautiful girls all day long, some pop out because they have something else to say, or something else is happening in their eyes and their way to express themselves too.
As all these former models discovered, making it into the coveted world of runways and magazine covers can be an ugly business. They were also the victims, they allege, of the same man, the former head supremo of the elite modelling agency in Europe, Gerald Marie.
Hey friend, welcome to my channel karinealourde, where we deep dive and break down the most iconic stars in history. If you're not yet subscribed, please be sure to do so and turn your notifications on so you never miss an upload. Now let's get into this video. Today we are breaking down the icon Linda Evangelista. Canadian-born Linda Evangelista was a major player in the supermodel scene of the 90s. You cannot mention 90s models without talking about Evangelista. In addition to appearing on more than 700 magazine covers, she is widely considered to be one of the most successful and influential models of all time, famous for being the muse of photographer Steven Meisel for a lengthy period of time, and for the famous quote, "We don't wake up for less than 10,000 a day, darling." Evangelista is a household name in the modeling industry. When compared to her peers, Evangelista did not branch out into other industries. She's one of the models, along with Naomi Campbell, who still models. After taking some time off to relax in 1998, she returned to the workforce in 2002 on a part-time basis. In 2008, she was named the greatest supermodel of all time by Fashion File viewers for her many modeling accomplishments. Evangelista has drawn praise and accolades from many of the fashion industry's elite. Philip Treacy said, "Linda is the ultimate model of the past 50 years. Karl Lagerfeld once described Evangelista as the most famous of all and the best model in the world, explaining, because she's a true model, pure and simple. She doesn't pretend to aspire to do anything else. She's just brilliant at what she does." Designer Stefano Gabbana said of Evangelista, "Linda is the model." Sozzani, the editor-in-chief of Vogue Italia, recounted that she would receive letters from readers concerned about what would happen to the magazine if Linda got sick, because it was all about Linda Evangelista. Her face had the most possibilities. Sozzani additionally stated, "For me, she is the model, not only for her beauty, but her attitude, her intelligence." In his book, Face Forward, the late makeup artist Kevin Aucoin said of Evangelista, "I first worked with Linda in the early 80s and have yet to meet another model who is more involved in every aspect of her work. Her specialties were knowing what was best for her hair, makeup, styling, and lighting, and Linda was always right. It was mind-boggling." Many of the unforgettable images of this haunting beauty were in great degree due to her involvement. This sentiment was echoed by fashion stylist Paul Cavaco, who described Evangelista as the greatest collaborator of all time.
"I didn't go from rags to riches. I came up gradually. I wasn't an overnight star. It took me a few years to get going. I worked every day, but I didn't do genius things right from the beginning. Went through a lot to get where I am, and I appreciate it. And it's what I hoped for." I did local modeling first, and for like $8 an hour for the newspapers, bridal fashion shows. And I went to New York and I tested. I spent a fortune doing tests. And when I got to Europe, I started working every day. I work hard. I try and be professional. I'm never late, never miss a plane, never sick, never unhappy, never hate the clothes. I always say I like them.
Linda is one of the hottest stars of the modeling industry, but it's not just her good looks that keep her on top.
She's A, professional, B, gentle, C, kind, D, very photogenic.
I think she probably does sort of personify this new lady of the 90s. She's marvelous looking, she's young. She has a great kind of quality of appeals to all of us.
It's an education watching Evangelista make a picture. Her patient perfectionism raises the game of everyone around her.
But sadly these days, Linda Evangelista is a recluse. It's rare to see her out and about taking photos because she went through this horrific fat-freezing full sculpting procedure, which we are going to talk about in this video. And we're also going to talk about her predatory ex-husband. But before we get into all of that, of course, we're going to do some background on her as far as her childhood goes and her career. Evangelista was born to Italian parents on May 10, 1965. Evangelista was born in St. Catharines, Ontario, the second of 3 children. She attended Dennis Morris Catholic High School and grew up in a working-class Roman Catholic household. And at the age of 12, Evangelista enrolled in a modeling school self-improvement course where she learned about topics like poise and politeness and was encouraged to enroll in a modeling course.
At a little tot, you could see how obsessed I was already with the fashion, and my mom was sewing for me. And I already had what looked like a Chanel belt and a Chanel purse and major attitude posing, because I already loved it. I was really a girly girl. I already loved the fantasy of it and looking beautiful and dreaming about that. I would raid my aunt's closets and my Barbies. Those poor things got dressed and undressed, and my mother, I would beg her for more clothes and she would sew me outfits.
Evangelista's mother indulged her daughter's passion by enrolling her in modeling school, and at 15 she entered the Miss Teen Niagara pageant. She didn't win a trophy, but she got noticed by a scout for elite models. It paved the way for her move to New York in 1984, where she slowly nurtured her career.
Evangelista got her start in local modeling when she was just a teenager. The year was 1981, and the event was the Miss Teen Niagara pageant. While she didn't end up taking home the crown, an elite model management scout noticed her. She began her career as a fashion model at the tender age of 16 when she traveled to Japan. However, an unpleasant experience involving, taking her clothes off during an assignment left her wanting to give up the industry. She moved back to Canada and waited 2 years before trying modeling again. In 1984, after relocating from her native Canada to New York City, Evangelista began her modeling career by signing with Elite Model Management. Evangelista got her hair chopped short in 1988 at the advice of photographer Peter Lindbergh, and Linda's career was boosted by the new look, which became known as the Linda and marked the beginning of the era of the supermodel.
Meet supermodel Linda Evangelista, the Canadian-born beauty renowned for her captivating eyes and her trend-setting short hair.
When I first cut my hair off and I went to Milano to do the shows, I was booked for like 20 shows. So 15 of them canceled me.
Although her career skyrocketed after she dared to buck the long-haired look, for a while she wondered if she had done the right thing.
Because they didn't understand the haircut at first. And then the next season, that's all they wanted were girls with short hair. Now I'm tired, I'm growing it out. Slowly, step by step. Because I'm sick and tired of seeing it on everybody.
Linda may have taken the shortcut with her hair, but she definitely didn't with her modeling career.
Evangelista was one of the most well-known women in the world in the late 1980s and early 1990s. She was called the chameleon of the fashion business because of how she can adopt any look and played a pivotal role among the 5 supermodels. Her first major fashion magazine cover was for the November 1984 issue of L'Officiel. Subsequently, she appeared on the covers and in the pages of a variety of international publications, including Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, Cosmopolitan, Glamour, Mademoiselle, Elle, Marie Claire, Allure, Time, Interview, Newsweek, Rolling Stone. She appeared on a total of more than 700 covers worldwide. In 1985, she began working with Karl Lagerfeld, the head designer of the fashion house Chanel, to whom she would become a muse. On the subject of Evangelista, Lagerfeld once uttered, "There is not another model in the world as professional as she is." Evangelista became one of the first editorial models to successfully cross over into the realm of runway model, with her agent Piero Piazzi successfully booking her to walk for fashion designer Gianni Versace, for whom she became a muse. She first appeared in a Versace ad campaign in 1987. Lindbergh proposed that Evangelista cut her hair short in the fall of 1988 after seeing her put on a short wig for a picture. Evangelista's appearance at 16 fashion shows was canceled when the haircut received a bad reception from the industry. But at the beginning of spring in 1989, Evangelista's new hairstyle was all the rage. The Linda was the name given to the cut, and the Evangelista was the name given to the wig that was modeled after it. Evangelista was one of the big 5 models who became famous in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Most actors and musicians of the day couldn't compare to the supermodels in terms of fame. Additionally, Evangelista, Christy Turlington, and Naomi Campbell formed a trifecta known as the Trinity, the Holy Trinity of modeling. On the cover of the January 1990 issue of British Vogue, photographed by Peter Lindbergh, were Cindy Crawford, Tajani Patitz, and Anna Ewers. According to some, the cover alone defined the supermodel age. George Michael, after seeing them on the cover of his album, decided to feature them in the music video for his song Freedom 90. Evangelista had been named one of People magazine's 50 most beautiful people in the world that May. The phrase, "we don't wake up for less than $10,000 a day," famously declared in an interview published in October 1990 issue issue of Vogue from Evangelista, has since become synonymous with Evangelista and has been called the let them eat cake of the 20th century.
The first wave of supermodels had an all-consuming effect on fashion. There were never really more than a handful of them, but resistance was futile. During the late 80s and early 90s, these girls had a lock on success. It's not hard to imagine how frustrating the situation must have been for everyone locked out of that inner circle. And according to them, there was no greater diva than La Linda.
I'm difficult, okay?
I know you are.
I'm not a bitch. I'm just very defensive. And at work, if somebody doesn't do their job properly, I nail them for it. And of course, once you're on the top, where are you going to go? There's nowhere to go after you're at the top. I'm not stupid and I'm not worried. I've done everything I wanted to do. I've gotten everything I wanted to get.
Evangelista helped write the script for a good decade's worth of fashion history. We don't wake up for less than $10,000 a day, she once joked. And her instantly misquoted words became instantly emblematic of an era.
Everything I've said in the past is now obsolete. Maybe I had to go through all that hysteria to get to where I am today. I'm a different person and I've changed a lot, and I feel like I know exactly where I'm going and what I'm doing, and I'm in control. In retrospect, I look back and think, wow, I would have done things a lot differently and said things a lot differently. It just seems like another time, another period. If I would have known then what I know today, I think I would have slowed it down a bit. I didn't appreciate so much what was going on.
But however out of control life may have been, Evangelista always did manage to give the impression that she was the boss.
When describing Evangelista, fashion writer Susie Menkes referred to her as the world's leading model. In a Vogue article the following month, finally in 1991, Evangelista starred under Lindbergh's direction in the documentary Models, the film. Evangelista was also the subject of a Paris-based episode of the MTV show House of Style. Evangelista later landed a $5 million endorsement deal with Clairol and starred in the fashion documentary Unzipped. She was also a presenter at the Miss World 1995 competition. Evangelista was on the cover of the Lindbergh's 1996 book 10 Women. She was in the film Catwalk. She was the Vogue Taiwan and Korea cover model. Yardley of London paid her $7.75 million, and she retired in 1998 and spent the next 2 years on the French Riviera. Anna Wintour, then editor-in-chief of Vogue, gave her the VH1 Fashion Award Lifetime Achievement Award in 1996. The city of Toronto, Ontario, honored her with a star on the Canadian Walk of Fame in June of 2003.
And where she's got at this particular moment is a spot on Canada's Walk of Fame in Toronto, where she unveiled her own star in the company of other illustrious Canadians, people whose professional achievements have, like Evangelista's, changed the industries in which they were. To help present her award, Evangelista selected her favorite teachers in a fine advertisement for the power of education to mold young minds.
I taught Linda in grades 7 and 8. She was a very hard worker, determined, dedicated, with a great sense of humor and an infectious giggle.
I did know early on that I wanted to model. I had no idea it was going to happen yet, and I guess they knew it too, and I didn't ever think it possible.
She was voted the greatest supermodel of all time by viewers of the CBC television show Fashion File in March of 2008. At the age of 22, Evangelista met and married Marie Gerald, 15 years her senior, in 1987. Gerald Marie oversaw the Paris branch of Elite Model Management in 1987. Gerald Marie is also the man labeled the Harvey W. Weinstein of the fashion business, who abused his power with new and vulnerable models. When asked on a Canadian television program in 1991 if she was jealous of the young woman Marie worked with, Evangelista said, "All those great faces bring profits to his company, which I get to help spend. No, I'm not threatened. I achieved all I wanted to achieve," end quote. In 1993, they got divorced. Evangelista claims she had no idea that Marie had a history of sensually taking advantage, harassing, and even raping women at work before, during, and after the marriage. Also, take note that all the charges we're about to outline are ones that Gerald Marie has refuted vehemently. He denied these claims and said they never happened. However, a French official investigation into these claims is ongoing without his having been charged with any crimes. And during that time, Marie allegedly took advantage of 13 elite models, reportedly targeting younger women because he thought that virgins were not photogenic. So to make you photogenic, you had to break your virginity. How creepy. Accusers also say the Frenchman would ply his victims with a daily dose of Coca-Cola. Y'all know what that means. I can't say it for you too, but the Coke, to keep them thin while engaging in the victimization of their bodies. Over 40 more women have come up to speak their stories. Now, we are going to revisit her predatory ex in a minute, but first, let's break down a little bit more about Linda, starting first with her religion and her political beliefs. Supermodel Linda Evangelista was raised in a devout, working-class Italian Catholic family, a faith that's rooted in her parents' immigration and their strong beliefs, though she is private about her current practices, often mentioning her mother's faith and support. And she does not speak about her current beliefs right now, but just that she was born a Catholic. You know, in the model industry, if you look online, there's a couple people that certain poses that she made and symbolisms were like, oh, you know, but all models, as you will see as we get deeper into this video, they didn't really have a say-so even over the poses that they would do, the places that they would go, photographers. You had to get to a level of like intense fame to be able to have a say-so, which Linda Evangelista did fight hard to get to that level, and later on in life had a lot of say-so, but specifically, especially in her beginning years, you don't have much say-so of like your poses. You guys are going to see. In terms of her political beliefs, Linda Evangelista's public statements primarily focus on fashion, cultural connections, and personal experiences. Her support for the LGBTQ plus movement, speculations of her being gay because of, you know, her haircut and photos that tease, like lesbian tease. So a lot of people say she's very outspoken for the trans community and the LGBTQ plus community because of those kind of rumors. And there's also rumors that the 90s models especially were very fluid because many of them were kind of encouraged to be that or to be with high paying women as high-end escorts, if you know, as we're about to get into that as well. So she speaks out for the trans community as well, but she has never spoken about that for herself, or there's never been any confirmation that she in fact is bisexual or gay or anything like that. Now let's get back to the intense scandals. Okay, now the question that everyone wants to ask is, did Linda Evangelista know about her husband, the monster that she married, her ex-husband? So Linda Evangelista has stated publicly that she knew nothing of the sexual allegations against her ex-husband, Gerald Marie, at the time that they were together. In a 2020 statement to The Guardian, Evangelista addressed the situation by stating, "During my relationship with Gerald Marie, I knew nothing of these sexual allegations against him, so I was unable to help these women," end quote. She added that, hearing them now, and based on my own experience, I believe that they are telling the truth. Evangelista has also described her own marriage to Marie as an abusive relationship in the 2023 Apple TV Plus docuseries, The Supermodels, noting that she was frightened to speak out at the time due to his power in the industry. In The Supermodels, Evangelista reflects on these allegations. She said, and I quote, "When I found out that he's hurt many women, he's violated many women, it broke my heart. I never told my story because I feared," she says, trailing off. "Thanks to the power of all these women coming forward, bless them. God bless all of them. It gave me the courage now to speak," she adds. "I would love that justice be served. I would love for a-holes like that to think twice and be afraid. And I would love women to know that they're not alone." She adds, "I married him when I was 22 and I got out when I was 27, and he let me out as long as he got everything. But I was safe and I got my freedom." She also spoke about how when he would put hands on her, he would always avoid hitting her in the face because that was the moneymaker and he didn't want to destroy the moneymaker. I'm going to choose to believe Linda Evangelista on this one, though many people are like, oh, you knew because of what happened to other models at the time or whatever. There is a chance that if she was in a relationship where hands were being put on her, that she would, definitely not want to pry into anything else. You're not going to really want to pry into what this person got going on. And maybe he was very strict about her minding her business and just looking pretty. And in some of their interviews, especially, he'd constantly keep mentioning being around pretty women, right? All the time, and always see pretty women. And if you zoom in closely on her face when he's saying that, just, I study body language just a little bit. So my opinion, you would see she always look annoyed or disgusted by him when he says that. So there's a slight chance she might have been aware of his philandering ways and some of the things that he was up to, but she might not have known just how deep or just how dark. But being in the top, that's the question that many people ask, and I'll ask you guys as well before I show some of these clips from 60 Minutes, because 60 Minutes did a great expose on this, just going into detail, the whole scandal and conspiracy of it all. My question is, could you be at the level of like Linda Evangelista? We're going to see just how high up she was with her influence, right? Could you be at a level like hers, being the top, the number one model of the 90s, because she was literally the number one supermodel of the 90s? Could you be there and not know anything?
In the documentary titled The Supermodels, Linda Evangelista candidly discusses her 5-year marriage to Gerald Marie, who was the European director of elite model management. She also mentioned that her ex-husband deliberately avoided physically harming her face because he knew it was her means of making a living.
Gerald Marie almost single-handedly transforming top models into worldwide superstars. He even married one, Canadian beauty Linda Evangelista.
When you meet a lot of beautiful girls all day long, some pop out because they have something else to say, or something else is happening in their eyes and their way to express themselves too. Meet a lot of beautiful girls all day long, some pop out because they have something else to say.
As all these former models discovered, making it into the coveted world of runways and magazine covers can be an ugly business. They were also the victims, they allege, of the same man, the former head supremo of the elite modelling agency in Europe, Gerald Marie.
He attacked me in the middle of the night. And he ran in the middle of the night.
I had no power. I had no voice.
We're not 17 anymore. We're not children anymore. We're adults and we know what happened to us and we do know who did it.
Gerald, then in his mid-30s, was at the top of his game, with an eye and, as he would be accused, a creepy penchant for young models.
He held the cards. He held the power. You know, I didn't have a parent to call at that time. I didn't have money of my own. Everything was dependent upon him and him giving it to me. And looking back, I was a perfect target for so many reasons.
By 1998, rumours of abuse were rife, prompting an undercover team of journalists to investigate.
I knew I was in the company of some of the most powerful and, I would say, dangerous men in the industry.
This is my friend Mac from Ireland.
Yeah. Gerald Marie, it was quite clear that sex was on the agenda all the time. Their average night out was either, if they're not with their models, young and old, on the table drinking, they're going to brothels. These guys were in loco parentis. They're in the role of a parent.
Here, Gerald is leeringly referring to an Elite Look of the Year contest, which saw girls as young as 13 and 14 compete to win a modelling contract.
If I come with a big boat, we just get off the boat to go and look at the girl, to this and that, and you always have a couple of friends in there, you know, we are discreet, no paparazzi.
But it was Gerald's plans for the most beautiful of them that was stomach-turning.
We witnessed a culture of sex. We heard them talk about it in the most graphic terms. We talked about the Elite Model Look contest in Nice as an opportunity for him to enjoy the company, sexual company, of underage girls. It was quite clear.
No parents. No parents about our chaperone, no.
Gerald Marie says, yes, they're words, they're embarrassing words, but that's all they are. It was like locker room talk, boys talk. Do you accept that as a defence?
I don't accept that at all.
Night after night, young models from the agency were required to dine with Marie and his businessman friends.
I still didn't feel afraid. All I thought was, I'm getting all of this on camera. Completely out of the blue, he walked over to me, straddled me on my chair, pinned me down to the chair. I couldn't move. He was thrusting himself into my abdomen and just simulating sex. It was the most horrific thing. All these men sat around, laughing. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry. That was almost the worst part of it. No one helped me. And it was so normal. It was so normal to them.
But in 1999, the BBC ran its expose of the fashion industry, with Gerald Marie's bad behaviour around young models front and centre. Worldwide condemnation was damning, and the reign of Gerald Marie was judged to be over. But not for long.
The industry, didn't just forgive him. They didn't convict him. They gave him more business, and he continued to make millions over the next 2 decades.
Omar Hafouch is an intriguing character. a trained concert pianist and wealthy businessman with a seemingly unshakable honest streak. He was the licensee of the Elite Look of the Year contest in Ukraine, but was appalled by Gerald Marie's treatment of the young contestants.
He used to touch the girls. He used to show them that he's the one who decides, that if they are nice to him, they can have a career, they can win the contest also.
Did you ever confront Gerald Marie about his behavior?
Of course, he was like, why, you're homosexual? He was saying that. I said, no, I'm not homosexual. You don't like girls? Of course I do. These girls, their family, they send them to us because they trust us.
Another former insider, Marie P. Anderson, once vice president of Elite Chicago, left the company in disgust in 1990.
I'm now hearing the women begging the men to stop sleeping with the 13 and 14-year-olds. And Gerald, with his Paris accent, says, girls, we are men. We have our needs. And John's response was, come on, stop being so puritanical. I was so stunned listening to that conversation, I had to get up and leave. And I quit Elite because I didn't want to be part of that organization.
Gerald Marie got his job back and with it, his glamorous life. You were 15, I think, when you met Gerald Marie.
I was flown to Paris for the summer, and the agent that met with my family said that there would be a chaperone in an apartment.
But like all the former models here, at the time, the teenage Shauna Lee was required to attend almost nightly industry parties with Gerald and his business friends.
I didn't have any experience with anyone. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's just really painful to talk about. And he brought me into his office and he called me out on the rape. And he said, what are you going to do? Go home and flip burgers? It was like a horrible, humiliating experience. I mean, he was older than my father at the time. I mean, I was 15. He was like 42 years old. I never saw it coming.
At 70, Gerald lives on the Spanish island of Ibiza, the holiday destination of the rich and famous. It's here that he has a luxurious clifftop home. He lunches by the beach most days and lives a lavish life built off the back of the lucrative modelling industry.
Kids, that is fire. I still not 16. Like we have a difference 16 and 16.
I watched as girls came in and slept with him and then were passed around middle-aged men.
Everybody could see what he was doing. Everybody could see that he was abusing his power.
Mr. Marie. Donald McIntyre, 60 Minutes Australia.
Donald McIntyre travelled to Ibiza to confront the man he hasn't seen in 20 years.
6 women are accusing you of... You have anything to say?
It appears Gerald Marie does not remember Donald and isn't bothered in the slightest by the allegations against him. He even feels compelled to make fun of McIntyre about what he's wearing.
You're dressed like a priest, but you don't know.
Mr. Marie, it's no time for joking.
Gerald continues eating and mocking Donald.
Have a beautiful day. Enjoy. You do. Yeah, beautiful night. Hallelujah.
So you guys see, that's very disturbing, all of the things. And my heart goes out to all of these young women because, like I say on this channel, I like to expose the dark, seedy side of Hollywood, the modeling industry or whatever. And when it's adults that make conscious decisions to get into an industry where they know it's corrupt and they know what's behind the scenes, I rarely have that much sympathy, even though I try to be understanding. But when it's children that had no choice, that was thrust into a system against their will, that is something completely different. And my full sympathies are with these young women at that time that were like 14, 15, 13. And this is what they were subject to. A lot of them, of course, for YouTube, I had to post the least graphic descriptions and clips because I don't want issues, but a lot of them is horrific the way this man spoke. Some of these people, women, if they are telling the truth, which personally I believe them, were like 13. I mean, they were not of age. And their parents, a lot of these parents, I give blame to because, I don't know, maybe it's a Caribbean thing, but being from Haiti, like, family wouldn't even really trust other family to watch their kids like that. Like, maybe it's just me, but they wouldn't even just leave me with an uncle or aunt like that, barely. To go live forever like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, let alone to send your kid off to strangers, unless your parents were coming into the States to work for a better life for you and they really went through it to find someone they could trust. It's just, I don't know. I don't know with some of these parents what the circumstances were that they allowed their children to go to another state with just an agency that promises that they're going to have them in an apartment, take care of them. These Young girls had no cell phones back then. They had no cell phones. They had no funds of their own. It's not like these parents were just giving them money to go with. They couldn't speak the language. You take them to a foreign language like France. Like these women, a lot of them couldn't even report what happened to them because they did not speak French. And then you go, and Gerald Marie was very influential and popular in France, that people are like, oh, he's buying the system, the justice system there. So they're young women too, helpless, small, frail, and they just feel like their whole life, their dreams is in the hands of these people. And for me to even get back home with no phone, no means of really contacting my parents, completely, like anything could happen. And I've done a lot of videos on these models, a lot of them too, even with Naomi Campbell, where I was a little sympathetic in my Naomi Campbell video, but some people didn't really like that. But the more I dug into her life as an adult, as an adult, I understand holding her accountable for things she did as an adult or she is doing. But I have sympathy for the young Naomi Campbell that was thrust into the system without her mom present. And the trauma that these people went through, it could shape you if that's all just like I said in my Michael Jackson video, if that's all he knew, that's all you knew, that's all you grew up into, because you didn't come into this like as an adult, fully developed brain. All right. Comment below you guys' thoughts about that. It's just upsetting to kind of look into just how dark it was in the industry in the 90s. This is something that happens in a modeling industry that goes beyond just Gerald Marie, though he's the biggest culprit to us. There's also many other execs, photographers, the ones that were in charge of these major magazines that were giving these women opportunities, agencies, and it was a lot of these people that really made it their mission to torture these young women and told them that you could not get a job unless you slept with me. And to them, like there's one guy in his interview, the audio might be a little choppy because it's so old and I tried to clean up the audio, but I'll tell you what he says if you could barely hear it. I'll share that clip as well as the Karen Mulder one. And eventually on this channel, once I'm done, polishing up some older videos, etc., I'm going to do a video on her. It's going to break your heart. But even with her, I'm going to share her case as well as what happened to her in the industry and how normal that this is. But this guy, this clip that he's doing, she says that, have you slept with young women like below the age of 16, right? And he's like, almost never. His response is almost never. What does that even mean, almost never? That should just be a straight no, never. But his response was almost never. And then I'm not going to show that clip because it's just too intense. The whole interview, I'm just not going to do it. Y'all can go look that up yourself. But he went on to say that, the French girls, he preferred to work with French models because at the age of 15, they develop. And, in Europe, the age of consent is much lower than in America. So the American models that he was working with were the ones that were holding him accountable, and their parents were holding him accountable because, in America, though the politicians and the higher ups may deal with hurting children, the public, the general public, is not okay with that ever. So he said he does not like the American models. He prefers to work with French young models because when they start to be developed and they're touching themselves, doing photo shoots or playing with their bodies, they know what they're doing. They know what they want. Right? Meaning that whenever they're posing for the pictures, they're asking for it. And the French judicial system at the time of this man did not care for what happened to him. I don't know if you're from France, comment below what's up with that. Every time I do these videos on the models or even French actresses, it seems like our judicial system really don't care. What's going on with that? Is there like advancements being made? How come so many of these people, like even in America, if someone get caught with people that are underage, they flee to France and they get like asylum almost. Like, I don't know. I would like to know some of your opinions on what's going on with your judicial system over there with that in that regards. But he said the American ones, their teases, like the young ladies will start to develop and they'll take the photos and they know what they're doing, but then they'll cry wolf later. It's like they're teasing when no, these women are taking directions from you as a photographer, telling them how to pose and you lusting after these young girls while you're almost like 60. I don't understand it. But I'm going to show you guys these clips of what happened behind the industry and how normal it is. This is like a normal thing that goes beyond just Gerald Marie.
How many teenage models, Mr. Haddad, have you slept with? What do you mean by teenage? The young girls, 16 to 19. 16? Almost never. In this case, it was a 15-year-old girl. I don't remember. Maybe it's possible. I don't know.
Then Claude Haddad went on to say, what happens with the girls is not really his fault.
In 2001, one of the most sought-after models in the world goes on a talk show. She, Karen Mulder, frantically starts name-dropping everyone that had either assaulted her or sold her to be assaulted. This list would include royalty, politicians, cops, and her own family. But before she'd be done getting through that list, she'd be taken off the stage and eventually put into a psych ward, paid for by the very person she claimed started selling her in the first place. Her agent and owner of Elite Paris, the man who signed her at just 15 years old, Gerald Marie, who, by the way, would be prosecuted years later with an insurmountable amount of sexual claims, only for the case to be closed in 2023 due to France's statute of limitations, which could have been avoided if anyone in the French courts had taken her seriously at the time she reported them, because yes, she did report them. And if that wasn't enough, I have something even more infuriating. One of the names she dropped during that talk show was Jean-Luc Brunel. He was an Epstein associate who was found dead in his cell in 2022. He was jailed on suspicion of trafficking of minors. Sorry, hold on. After Karen's 2001 interview, numerous publications would come out claiming that she was going through a psychotic episode. Her parents would publicly blame this outburst on drugs, and her sister Saskia would go on that same talk show just to discredit her sister, which may sound surprising, but remember, part of her desperate plea for someone to listen and do something included the abuse she endured in her childhood. So it's safe to say Saskia was also a victim. It's complicated, but it fueled the media and it fueled the tabloids to call her crazy, and she tried to take her own life in 2002. Thankfully, she survived, and she'd returned to that same talk show to confront the host, heard this desperate plea, pulled her from air, and then deleted the tape. So the video of her speaking her truth would be scrapped altogether. The reason that we know this exists is because of his testimonies in the tabloids, hers and audience members. Everyone called her crazy.
So I know that was intense. I don't know. Let's try to get to a softer point of the video. Let's go into her influence, which once you figure out her influence, I'll ask the same question towards the end. But she was considered, Linda Evangelista, as the Madonna of the modeling industry, mainly because of her hair. But she always got defensive when people would ask her about her hair. You'll see in some clips, the guy's like, I'm not trying to make you defensive. And she's just like really annoyed. And she said it. She hate when people would ask her, what color are you going to color your hair next? Or made her whole career about her hair. And she said, people weren't hiring me for my hair alone. But Linda, yeah, your hair was a major role in you standing out amongst the other girls, right? So though she hated it, that was part of the case for her. And Linda Evangelista's influence stemmed from her role as a defining 90s supermodel, her iconic chameleon ability to transform with constantly changing hairstyles like the Linda cut that set trends, and her powerful persona, famously stating, models don't wake up for less than $10K a day, which elevated models to celebrity status and influenced industry pay and perception. After that, people started really taking modeling seriously, like, what, 10K? And then every parent, money-hungry parent, that's how these greedy Gerald Maries of the modeling world got their hands on these young kids, because their money-hungry parents were like, 10K a day? Let's send our daughter, our beautiful daughter, away to these people. As long as we're getting paid for it, they can do whatever they want to my child. Just sick. But it elevated the status of models, and people stopped seeing them as just beautiful faces because, hey, this is a lucrative career. So she helped shape that. She also became a muse for top designers and graced hundreds of magazine covers and embodied the era's high fashion glamour, turning herself and models into powerful brands. She was a permanent muse for designers like Versace and walked for every major house and appeared on over 700 magazine covers, becoming a central figure in fashion marketing and culture.
She is like strong and very beautiful. She is very sophisticated and she's maximum glamorous. And for me, she's the top model.
There were few favorite models, but she was probably the most talented.
Hair is a powerful signifier in ancient myths and legends, but nobody ever wielded its fatal attraction like Linda. Fashion might like to think it's all about change, but it actually likes to stay the same as much as possible. It's impossible to overestimate the impact that Linda Evangelista has had on her profession and on her industry. So when it's confronted by a creature for whom metamorphosis is second nature, blame it on the hair, the inescapable co-star of the Evangelista story.
I said to Linda, why don't you cut your hair? And she said, you must be out of your mind. No? And then like a month later, she just walked in the studio and said, I'm ready now.
After the cut came color, shade after shade after shade.
What's the thing you're most tired of being asked?
What's your next hair color?
Has it been fun doing it, though, knowing the effect that it has on other people?
Because they criticize it always in the beginning, like the haircut. They're like, oh my God, at a time when everybody has long hair, she has short hair. And now people, they don't care what hair color I am. They book me for me, not for my hair color.
Mm. Yeah, but you know when you've been called the Madonna of the modeling world, for example. You know, when you look at Madonna, you just get the sense that she's having a lot of fun twisting people's preconceptions.
I'm not trying to twist anything.
Oh, yeah?
No, nothing.
I don't want to make you defensive.
Any reaction is a good reaction as long as they notice. So it's fine. I don't really care if they approve or not. I've done everything I wanted to do. I've gotten everything I wanted to get. I had a really good time, and I'm still going.
Evangelista was a compelling muse for photographers as much as for designers. Under Meisel's direction, Evangelista evoked to an almost eerie degree the spirits of celluloid icons.
Always thought it was funny that you said you weren't interested in acting when it seemed to me that that was what you did. You played so many different roles for every shoot that you did.
In a sense, I guess it is acting. I always wanted to be a model. I was obsessed with it. I mean, I read every fashion magazine from the time I was 12, but I never thought I would become that. Never.
So now I ask the question, with that type of influence, do you think that she really didn't know what was going on in the industry that she was participating in? Did any of these women not know? But a lot of them still are getting booked interviews, being part of documentaries. They're still making money, even though you might not see them on the runway or walking, like the Naomi Campbells and the Cindy Crawfords of this world, like the 90s models. They're still making money. They still have an interest in not really fully speaking out on what's going on because they don't want to be blackballed either. So it's not that these women, it's hard to imagine that the top 5 supermodels of that decade just didn't know what was going on and they all just act clueless, you know, but maybe they've been through their own things and they're traumatized and they just don't want to talk about it. Like, you never know what they went through. But imagine the amount of change that would happen in the modeling industry if they actually spoke up. That would be undeniable. In 1992, while working on a picture shoot for Barney's New York, she first met actor Kyle MacLachlan, whom she later dated. The 1995 engagement ended in a divorce in 1998 for the couple. She then started dating Fabienne Barthez, a French football player. 6 months into the pregnancy, she became pregnant but miscarried. The pair split up in 2000, got back together in 2001, and then ended their relationship formally in 2002. Evangelista gave birth to her son, Augustine James, in October 2006. She refused to give his father's name. Evangelista, who dated Francois-Henri Pinault for 4 months in late 2005 and early 2006, disclosed in court documents that she had a son with him in late June 2011. Later, Pinault married Salma Hayek, and on August 1st, 2011, Evangelista formally filed for a child support order in Manhattan Family Court, asking for $46,000 in monthly child support from Pinault. On May 3rd, 2012, a highly publicized child support trial got underway with testimony from both Pinault and Evangelista. Evangelista's lawyer asserted that Pinault had never paid for the child, and on May 7, 2012, many days into the trial, Evangelista and Pinault came to an amicable agreement. These days, it seems Evangelista only has love for her ex and his wife, Salma Hayek. Recently, Salma Hayek posted a family photo of herself out with her stepson, which is Linda Evangelista's son, to her Instagram page, and Evangelista reacted with joy, posting 2 black heart emojis in the comment section. It all seems to be amicable and friendly, and we love that for them. Now let's get into the cool sculpting scandal. Evangelista gave an explanation for why she had stopped working and had disappeared from the public eye in September 2021. She explained that 5 years earlier, she had undergone cryolipolysis, a cosmetic fat removal surgery under the name sculpting in order to remove fat beneath her skin, but that this procedure had the opposite effect, leading to the condition paradoxical adipose hyperplasia. According to People magazine, within 3 months after Evangelista's treatments, she started noticing bulges at her chin, thigh, and bra area. The same areas she wanted to shrink were suddenly growing and hardening. Then they turned numb. This is a direct quote from her. She said, "I tried to fix myself thinking I was doing something wrong. I began dieting and exercising more. I got to where I wasn't eating at all. I thought I was losing my mind," end quote. Finally, in June 2016, she went to her doctor. "I dropped my robe for him. I was bawling and I said, I haven't eaten, I'm starving. What am I doing wrong?" When he diagnosed her with paradoxical adipose hyperplasia, she says, "I was like, what the hell is that?" And he told me no amount of dieting and no amount of exercise was ever going to fix it. End quote. Evangelista said that she had filed a lawsuit against Celtic Aesthetics, a company that owns Sculpting and is an allergen affiliate. She demanded $50 million in compensation for her suffering and lost wages. PAH is a rare side effect for those who don't know what it is, and it's like, okay. And it happens to less than 1% of people who do the sculpting. She just happened to be very unlucky. And it's where the freezing process causes the affected fatty tissue to thicken and expand instead of shrinking. Patients go in to have something reduced and now it's enlarged. And the problem with PAH is that in some instances, it doesn't go away at all. So you're stuck with it for life. So no amount of liposuction would help with it either. You're just kind of like disfigured for life. Evangelista alleges that when her doctor contacted Sculpting about her PAH, the company told him they wanted to make it right and offered to pay for her liposuction with a surgeon of the company's choosing, which is risky. Why the company's choosing, right? And her suit, Evangelista, says that on the eve of her liposuction, she was informed that Celtic would cover the procedure only if she signed a confidentiality agreement. She refused and had the first of 2 full-body liposuction surgeries, which she says she paid for. Following the surgery, Evangelista says she had to wear compression garments, girdles, and a chin strap for 8 weeks. Otherwise, the PAH may come back, which she says it did. Even after a second liposuction in July 2017, she said it wasn't even a little bit better. "The bulges are protrusions and they are hard. If I walk without a girdle and a dress, I will have chafing to the point of almost bleeding because it's not like soft fat rubbing, it's like hard fat rubbing." She says her posture has also been affected because she can no longer put her arms flat along her sides. "I don't think designers are going to want to dress me with that," end quote.
I'm not stupid. I know this is going to end one day. I mean, I'll be either overexposed and people will get tired of me, or if I'm lucky, I'll just get old. I know it's going to happen. I just hope that I can deal with it when it comes.
Supermodel Linda Evangelista is opening up in People magazine about the life-changing side effects she endured after a failed cosmetic procedure.
She was one of the world's most photographed faces, part of fashion's original supermodels, appearing everywhere in the 90s. But the Linda Evangelista of today says she's a far cry from her former self.
Versace won't want to dress me with that sticking out of my body.
Evangelista telling people about the cosmetic procedure she says left her deformed.
My son used to say, before I told him the truth, "Mommy, do you remember when you used to be fun? Mommy, remember when you used to laugh all the time? How come you don't laugh anymore?" It was going to contour areas of the body that as I age, I have some fat deposit. And it was supposed to be non-invasive, not painful, no surgery.
At age 50, Linda was still modeling, but wanted to define some areas of her body. So she began a fat-freezing cosmetic procedure called sculpting.
Linda says this isn't about aging. She always knew she would get older. She says she just didn't think that she would look like this.
Did I want to like what I saw in the mirror?
She also told People magazine, "Why do we feel the need to do these things to our bodies? I always knew I would age, and I know that there are things a body goes through, but I just didn't think I would look like this," she says of the protrusions, adding that she lost her identity. "I don't recognize myself physically, but I don't recognize me as a person any longer either. She," and she means Linda Evangelista supermodel, "is sort of gone," end quote. So since that was a pretty sad ending, I saved some fun stuff for the ending just to lighten up the mood. I didn't want to end it on that because that sucks, right? You go from being the most beautiful face of the modeling industry, modeling, and then just a procedure that you think is safe, you know? So let's get into her diet secrets, which, you know, I usually put those things in the beginning of the video. I mean, she was the most famous model ever. So we want to know, in her glory, what did she eat? What was her favorite foods and beauty secrets, right? So on diets, she said, I think there's something to be said about keeping a really high pH level and foods that help you with inflammation. But it's so hard for me to say, you know, stick to this or whatever. I really feel like deprivation creates desire. When pizza comes through my house, which is once a week, I can resist sometimes, but once in a while, I have a piece. So in general, though, just have a natural, you know, lots of vegetables. I'm not big on fruits myself, but tons of vegetables, tons of grains, flax, hemp, some coconut oil, and avocados. And as far as her beauty tips, she said, I really think one should do their makeup in front of a window because I'm sure women don't know when they go out. You can see their foundation and where it ends. I really think you can get your best results in natural light. I agree. If you have a vanity, do it in natural light, not in the bathroom. Because oftentimes in the past, I would do my makeup and then I'd go out and I'd be like, what is going on? So do it in natural light, not the fluorescent or even the dim light. I love you guys so much. Comment below who else would you guys like to see. Thank you for tuning in. Comment below who else would you guys like to see. Until next time.